guys, and good morning. My name is Emma. I'm from the Emerging Prairie team. We're so excited to be here with you guys today. One of the really cool features about Shindig is that we can kind of throw individuals from the audience up on stage, and we have a personal blast with that. So the first person that I want to bring up here today, his name is Anthony. He's based from Fargo, and we're going to bring him up, ask him a few questions, see how his morning is going.
Good morning, everybody.
Yes, Anthony. So if you are interested, would you run the audience through where you're at, maybe what you do, who you're representing today?
Yes. So I am Anthony Molzon. I am in a quasi-lockdown in South Fargo. And I'm a tenant over at the Research and Tech Park, which they've actually kept open, but no one's there. So it's also a shelter in place if anyone wants to work there right now. The company's Project Phoenix, and we do software development for a number of companies around the region. And we built a platform for commercial drone pilots called Aegisflow for them to sell their photos and videos online. So just trying to keep everything going. We're all virtual. We got some folks in Minnesota. We've got some folks in North Dakota. We actually have a developer over in India right now. It's pretty crazy, but we're still plugging and chugging.
Yeah. Awesome. And I guess the real question is, have you gotten into making sourdough bread yet?
Not quite yet, but a lot of my friends have. And there's a couple of non-challenges going around the social spheres right now. So it's a lot of fun. Man, a lot of downtime changes what you do. Instead of going out, we stay in. And so playing a lot of tabletop games, a lot of games of Scythe. Oh my gosh, my wife is very good at Scythe and it's frustrating. So
awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us here today. We're super pumped to have you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, of course. Awesome. Sweet. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, guys. Like I said, Shindig is a pretty cool platform. One of our favorite features is you actually can talk to individuals in the audience. So what you do is you just click on their icon. It'll say IM, sidebar, and you can pull them aside for a one-on-one conversation. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll get started shortly. Hey guys, for those just joining us, welcome to our Founders Only Town Hall. We're super excited to have you guys here today. We're really excited to also be using this awesome new software called Shindig. One thing that I want you to note when you're looking for friends within the Shindig platform to talk to, you can actually head to the search bar and find specific individuals. Again, we're so excited to have you, and we'll begin the program shortly. Hey guys, while we wait to get started here today, I'd love to highlight some of the features that are available with Shindig. So I'm going to bring up Matt Paulson from South Dakota up to the podium.
Hello.
Hey Matt, how you doing?
I am good. How are you, Emma?
Oh, I can't complain. It's a Friday morning, so I am living my best life right now.
Awesome.
Well, I'm just a little curious. Could you give us some background on where you're from, what you're doing, who you're representing today, maybe your favorite quarantine activity?
Yeah. So I'm from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I run a financial media company called Market Beat. We publish a daily email newsletter to about 1.4 million investors. I'm also involved in the startup ecosystem in Sioux Falls. Created an organization called Startup Sioux Falls. And we've since partnered with the Zeal Center for Entrepreneurship here in town. So we've been doing a lot of great work and events together.
Awesome.
In terms of quarantine activities, I am just trying to stay sane with a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old at home. So
not all heroes wear capes, man.
yes,
That's awesome.
Not easy.
Your eye bags look great. I mean, I think you're crushing it. So thanks for joining us today. We're so excited to have you.
Yes, thank you.
Sweet. Well, we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Hello, all founders. I just want to drop in again to say thank you so much for joining us. To anybody that's just logged on, I also want to give another reminder that if you can at all, one of the cool features about Shindig is the fact that you can talk to other people in the audience. All you have to do is click on their icon. Also, if you're having troubles finding anyone, you can head to the search bar, start typing in their name, and hopefully they'll pop up. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will begin shortly. Founders, my name is Emma. I'm super excited to invite you to the Founders Only Town Hall today. I would love to invite to the stage Greg and Jamie. They'll be your MCs for today. Again, we're super excited for you guys joining us, and they'll kick off the show. Awesome.
Good morning.
Well, good morning, everyone. Great to be here with Emerging Prairie. It is an honor to be your host today. I'm joined by a friend and colleague, Jamie Wood, out of South Dakota. Jamie, say hello, introduce yourself, and let folks know who you are.
Hello, everybody. Hello from South Dakota, from beautiful Sioux Falls. Glad to be on this today. We have some wonderful, amazing innovation taking place right now. And, you know, even though we're in the disaster kind of zone right now and recovering, there's so much innovation and spirit, entrepreneurial spirit going on right now. So we're really excited about it. We've got, I want to highlight some South Dakota businesses that are really innovating. Eddie Sullivan, CEO of SAB Biotherapeutics right here in Sioux Falls. They're in the biotech medical industry, and they are trying to kick COVID-19's butt by finding a therapeutic that can actually be used against it, fight against it. Very exciting. And we have another one that we want to highlight, Mark Eschenbrecher and Jim Herber of Badlands Distillery in Kadoka, South Dakota. They're innovating. They actually were, they were getting ready to get their line of bourbon, whiskey, and spirits all ready for the summer run with Sturgis and everything. And now they are busier than ever. They retooled. their distillery. They got the permission, and now they're producing an even more in-demand product, and that's actually hand sanitizer. And what's really clever and cool about how they're marketing that, and there's an uptick in their revenue for this too, is they didn't have access to a lot of the cute little hand sanitizer bottles, so they put it in their whiskey bottles. So it's amazing to see what's going on. And there's just so many more stories too. And then yesterday, wow, the governor of South Dakota made an announcement. Governor Noem rolled out the Care 19 app, and we're so excited to have that now. It's actually an app that you can download, and it does track where you're going. It's a voluntary app if you want to, participate in it. It tracks where you go so that if you get exposed to an area that has COVID-19, and it can help if you do end up getting it yourself, that it can help you to be able to inform others, and it helps the state to kind of know and to contain that community spread. So it helps keep you healthy. It helps keeps others healthy. It's voluntary, and we're just excited to have that capability right now in South Dakota. Yeah. So we have, Greg. All right, Greg's coming back. We have some cool graphics designs, entrepreneurial effort going on too out in Pierre. Actually, we heard of a graphic design company that what they're doing is they're actually volunteering and helping to actually do the material for folks who are volunteering to make masks. The surgical masks, so the protective masks. And so they're doing over 400 of these cutouts a day, and that's just amazing as well. So, well, we're just working through some technical glitches, which is, this is one of the first times we've done this, and that's okay. This is an amazing venue on Shindig, and really excited about the Founders Only Town Hall today. So a lot of people ask, what are founders? Founders are the entrepreneurs, the innovators, and Greg's back. So Greg's going to tell us a little bit more about what's going on in North Dakota.
Well, thanks, Jamie, and apologize for that. We had two videos running on the same technology, so we're back now. Like you said, Jamie, there's innovation and entrepreneurship happening everywhere. We're really excited about what Tim Brookins and his team with the Care 19 app has done. They've got 13,000 downloads so far in North Dakota and South Dakota, tracing where folks have been. This is an opt-in platform. We're also really encouraged by what's happening out of Mandan with Marlo Anderson and hand sanitizer, and Joel with Proof in Fargo. And just yesterday, it was announced that Apario and Barry Batchelor and the team out of Fargo are now partnering with the University of Minnesota with emergency ventilators. So they've committed to producing 200 ventilators for the state of North Dakota. So again, entrepreneurs are finding ways to add value, make an impact, and continue with their pursuit of improving the human condition.
It's wonderful. There's a lot of opportunity right now in this disaster zone, like we were saying earlier, and it's just amazing what we're seeing across the board. Everything is just happening right here in the Dakotas. It's wonderful.
Yeah, so that's a lot what we wanted to do at the town hall. I got a call from Senator Hoeven's office saying, hey, how are the entrepreneurs doing? And gave an ability to share a little bit what we're working on, and said, what would it look like to put together a town hall? So our hope today is to give founders the opportunity to ask questions, to hear from both Senator Hoeven of North Dakota and Senator Thune. We're using Shindig, which this is a platform built out of New York City, and it's an interactive platform for events where it's not just listening, but folks can interact. They can ask questions. They can have sidebar conversations. We've been testing it all week. We're feeling really, really good about it. And so that's kind of what we're up to. And the last thing that we wanted to tell you is this is a team sport. Entrepreneurship is always a team sport. The collaboration with the SBA across the country and our elected officials are critical. And so, Jamie, I think what we're ready for now is to bring up our senators and give them a chance to introduce themselves, share what they're working on, and then we're going to have some questions for them. Does that sound good for you, Jamie?
Sounds awesome. Let's do this.
All right. Well, there he is, Senator Hoeven.
Hey, Greg, how are you? Greetings to you. Greetings to Jamie. This is really fantastic. I'm over at CoSchedule in Bismarck, new, young, dynamic business that we've got here in North Dakota. And so big thanks to Garrett and to Lance, the IT guy, for letting me come over and use their technology. But thanks to you and to Greg and everybody at Emerging Prairies and, all the founders, the whole 1 Million Cups crew and Sioux Falls and in Fargo, and just all the young entrepreneurs, tech and many other types of entrepreneurship as well, for the great stuff you're doing. And I know Senator Thune and I are very pleased to be with you. So I'm going to start out with an introduction of Senator Thune. And first, I'm going to give you some of the, I guess, serious stuff, and then maybe a couple of fun things, because he and I are pals and we hang out, and he's a great guy. So I'm going to start with just a little bit of his track record. He's tremendously accomplished. He was grew up in Murdo, South Dakota, and my chief of staff, Jessica Lee, is from Prairie. So there's a little rivalry there, but we have fun with that. But grew up in Murdo, and then went to school, college, and so forth. Was a great athlete, did a lot of things, and tremendous record. But then ran for the House and was elected to the House of Representatives from South Dakota for 3 terms. And after serving 3 terms in the House, he was elected to the Senate. He's in his 3rd term in the Senate, and he is actually our whip. So he's second really to Senator McConnell in our leadership team, and does a tremendous job guiding the Republican caucus, and is responsible when we have votes, to make sure that we have the vote count done and encourage people to pursue our agenda and get on board with things. And he just does a fabulous job and is a real leader in the Senate. He has a wonderful wife, Kim, that everybody loves. She's just fantastic. And he's got 2 beautiful daughters and 4 grandkids, which is really good. Now, I have 6 grandkids. I wouldn't, of course, bring that up to him. He's a little sensitive because I'm ahead of him there. But he's just got a great family. And some fun facts. He and I do have, we hang out, we'll go to dinner a lot and do a lot of stuff. He's a good friend and a great guy. I like to call him JT, obviously, John Thune. Or my favorite is Thune, as kind of his nicknames. I've got a few others too. Sometimes I call him Litorio because that's whipped in Spanish, and trying to pick up a little Spanish. So we have fun with some nicknames and things like that. And with our buddies, we have various nicknames and stuff, and like to, hang out and do some fun things when we're not working. And the other thing I would mention is he really is a big sports fan. So we have these sports rivalries, and we have bets very often between the North Dakota State Bison and the South Dakota State Jacks. And in football, needless to say, we've done pretty well with the Bison versus the Jacks on those bets, but the Jacks are getting very good, so I've got to be careful here. We'll also bet on basketball, and that's been a mixed bag. That's gone back and forth, so those are pretty good. Now, I've not been able to get him to bet with me yet on ice hockey because the University of North Dakota, as you know, has a phenomenal hockey program, won many national championships. He uses the lame excuse that South Dakota doesn't have a hockey team, but, so I have to kind of let him get by with that. So we have a lot of fun. He's a great guy, but most importantly, he's a great leader for the state of South Dakota and for our country. Back to you, Greg or Jamie, for the next step.
Well, thank you, Senator Hoeven. I hope you do not discriminate against older entrepreneurs. I hear your encouragement for younger entrepreneurs, but we don't want you discouraging the younger entrepreneurs. So I think right now the next step is for us to bring Senator Thune onto the stage. Looks like he is connecting, so we'll do that.
Yeah. And Encore entrepreneurship is on the uptick, 55 or older. I'm almost that age.
Well, they're all younger than I am, so to me, they're all young.
Well played, sir.
Welcome to the stage, Senator Thune.
Thanks, Greg, very much. It's great to be with you all. Great to be with my good friend John Hoeven, and to have this sort of mutual Dakota event where we can talk to people who are involved in the business world in both of our states. And I appreciate not only a great working relationship, but a great friendship with Senator Hoeven. As he mentioned, he and I and our wives are very close. And like me, he married way over his head when he married Mikey. He would say the same thing about me. My wife, Kimberly, and our wives are very involved in helping out with the grandkids these days. And he does have, although I have another one due at the end of the month. So I'm not going to have 6, but I'll have 5. So I'm moving in the right direction. But anyway, it's been, a great working relationship, and I've known Senator Hoeven for a long time. Interestingly enough, he was first elected governor back at the age of 17. That was North Dakota boy state governor, of course. But it didn't take him very long to become elected governor of North Dakota, where he served 3 terms, or almost 3 terms, until we got him to run for the Senate. And I got to know him when he was governor of North Dakota, and he did a great job leading the state on so many levels. And I recruited him heavily to try and get him to become a United States Senator, where he has had just a tremendous impact and is a leader on so many issues. In fact, as a member of the Senate Appropriations Committee, we all have to bow. He is a cardinal. He chairs the Ag Appropriations Committee, which is critical to our states of North and South Dakota, and was very instrumental, I might add, in getting some of this money in the most recent bill that we passed for agricultural producers, specifically livestock producers, which is something that had never been included before. And so Governor Hoeven and I, Senator Hoeven and I have worked a lot on ag. We work a lot on energy, although we work a lot more on energy if you would let some of that Bakken oil flow south into South Dakota. We worked a lot on tax issues, trade issues, and obviously the Missouri River, all issues that impact both of our states. And as he pointed out, we have opportunities when we're not working to interact and just spend some time together and get to know each other and talk about our lives and our family.
All right, we lost Thune, so we'll give him an ability to pop back. Maybe the internet overpowered it. But Senator Hoeven, we just want to kick things off with some opening remarks from you. Can you give some perspectives on how the Senate is thinking about their support of entrepreneurs, of the risk takers, of the folks that have said we're going to make a difference and are now finding themselves in a unique time as it relates to COVID-19? Yeah,
absolutely, Greg. And again, thanks to you. And I want to wish everyone, good Friday, to have a great Easter weekend, and just wish everybody the very best at this very important and very holy time of the year. But also, we're in this COVID-19 virus fight. And so, again, we're reminded of all the things that are important and the things that are long and lasting. And it brings me back to the incredible confidence that I have in the people of North Dakota and the people of South Dakota, and we're so much alike in so many ways, and this great nation. And we will defeat COVID virus, just like we've defeated many other foes throughout history, and we will continue to do so because we're Americans, and we rise to every challenge. And that, in a way, is a sense of what entrepreneurs are all about, isn't it? And absolutely, as you said at the outset, it's about entrepreneurs of all ages. You can be a young entrepreneur at a very old age if you're starting out with a new idea, a new concept, or a new business. And in both North Dakota and South Dakota, whether it's Denny Sanford in South Dakota or whether it's somebody like Barry Batcheller in North Dakota, we have amazing entrepreneurs. And that's why I always think in terms of, how do we build our economy in a way that's going to last for the long term and give us a high standard of living and great jobs and great opportunities for ourselves and our families and our children and our grandchildren. And I talk about that in North Dakota as both the, we're an absolute leader in agriculture, as is South Dakota, and have been for many years. We're also an incredible leader in energy of all kinds, not only the oil and gas like JT just mentioned, but so many renewables and other types of energy as well. We're going to continue to be an energy powerhouse and a leader in agriculture. But the third leg on our stool is this tech entrepreneurship. And Emerging Prairie and A Million Cops and CoSchedule and all these different companies and organizations are leading the way forward today. And they're working with, as you said, some of our more established entrepreneurs like the Batchellers and the Prairie and so many others. Our governor, Doug Burgum, and Great Plains and Microsoft. And again, so many in South Dakota as well, to put that third leg on the stool, and it's real. I mean, there's no question that we're making it happen, and you all and your founders are a big, big part of it. Now, we need to work to make sure we're helping and supporting our business community, our entrepreneurship community, our ag community, our energy community, everybody across the board as we engage in this COVID-19 fight. First, it's about beating the virus. We're doing that. We're going to do that. But at the same time, we've got to get our economy through this stretch too. So I'm going to talk about a couple things, and then I know JT is going to talk about a couple things in that regard. In the CARES Act, of course, one of the first things we did was include payment to individuals to replace that lost income because our economy is shut down, because so many people can't go into their place of business as we engage in this social distancing to defeat the virus. So those checks should be out starting next week. Now, if you have direct deposit for your tax refund, and either in 2018 or 2019, those checks will go right to your bank account. Same account you get your check refund for your tax return. $1,200 an individual, $500 per child. So for a married couple with 2 children, that'd be $3,400. Income tested, means tested. So up to $75,000 for an individual, you would still, in income, you would still get the full $1,200. Above that, it starts phasing out. Above $150,000 for a married couple. For a single head of family, that number, that phase out doesn't start until $112,500 because that's an individual with dependents. So if you don't have direct deposit, then you'll be getting a check. That'll take a little longer than the direct deposit. So look for direct deposits in the next week, a little longer than that if you get it by check. The second program I'll mention is the Paycheck Protection Act. This is a small business program. And of course, that's predominantly what we have in North Dakota and South Dakota is small business. And frankly, that's the backbone of our country's economy. We can never, the backbone of our country's economy is small business. And so we put together the Paycheck Protection Act. I think it's a good way to go. We're rolling it out as aggressively as we can. I spent a lot of time working with our financial institutions on it. I would guess that JT is as well. And essentially what it provides is that you can get 2.5 times your annual payroll in a loan if you're a small business, and including entrepreneurs, self-employed, and so forth. Essentially 2.5 times what your monthly payroll is on an annualized basis. And up to 8 weeks of that loan. So it's a low interest loan. You're going to get it through your financial institution, your bank or your credit union, whatever your financial institution is. Even if you don't have one, then go into a bank or a credit union. A lot of them, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them are providing it. And you can then get that loan. It's a low interest loan. It's a 1% loan for 2 years, no payments for the first 6 months. But you can have that. It's also a grant program. In other words, you get a grant, the portion of it that's for payroll, for employees that you keep on the payroll, up to 8 weeks worth, that is a grant back to you, as well as other qualified expense, which can be interest on your mortgage, interest on certain other debt obligation, and rents. So those qualified expenses then, in essence, are forgiven to you as a grant based on you keeping your team on board. And that's the whole point, is we want to keep businesses together so they're ready to get up and going if they're shut down now, as soon as we're able to get people back into the workplace as we come out of this COVID-19 fight. And that's the whole goal of the program. So we think that's a very important program for businesses across the board, small businesses, because it goes up to 500 employees. Now, there are exceptions to that, so make sure you check. For example, in the energy industry, very big in our state, you can go up to 1,000 or even 1,250 employees in some cases. So that 500 isn't a hard and fast, that's a general rule. This is for companies that have 500 employees or less. General rule, there are exceptions, check it out. You may have more employees, you may still qualify. Then we have other loan programs for bigger businesses. For example, one was rolled out yesterday, the Main Street loan program. And again, it's trying to help. That doesn't have a grant feature, but trying to help some of the larger businesses. Last thing I'll mention is on unemployment insurance, and then I know JT will talk about a couple things as well. And see, these all fit together. The individual checks to replace lost income, the Paycheck Protection Act to help the small business and their employees. And then in some cases, obviously businesses are going to have to lay off their employees because they're shut down. They can't operate and they have to do it. So we enhanced unemployment insurance 3 ways in the CARES Act. The first is that we increased the benefit by $600 a week. So for individuals, the federal government actually provides $600 above what the state would normally apply on a weekly basis. The second is we extended the benefit for an additional 13 weeks beyond the length of time that the state would normally provide it. So people don't have to worry about running out of that unemployment insurance if they're not back at their job, or if they lose that job and have to find another one. And the third aspect is that we make sure that for independent contractors, for self-employed, and for others who typically don't pay into the UI fund, the unemployment insurance fund, they still qualify, and we provide coverage for them under the CARES Act unemployment insurance benefit. And for businesses, you may want to look as well. Let's say you have employees where they're still working at your business, but you've had to cut back their hours, so maybe they're like half time, because that's all the business can carry at this point. They can also look at unemployment insurance benefits. So that way the individual worker could still get unemployment insurance for for kind of on a half-time or part-time basis, and then, be paid on a part-time basis too. Again, helping both the employee and the business through this stretch. Final note for our farmers and ranchers, so important, they're providing that food supply, highest quality, lowest cost food supply for us every single day, every single American, and far beyond our shores. They're providing that food supply while we're shut down right now. And so JT's right. I was able to secure additional almost $25 billion for farmers and ranchers. Been working with USDA very closely, as has Senator Thune. By the way, he's been a huge champ on that. He's on the Ag Committee. He and I work together on Ag, and it's a fabulous partnership, and truly a joy to work with him on Ag. Obviously, one of our very favorite things. But we should have, working with USDA, roll some financial assistance out that will start with our ranchers first, and some other groups. And then the crop piece will come later. So we're hard at work on that, and that should be something we get in place soon for our first our ranchers, and then later our farmers.
Great. Well, thank you for that, Senator Hoeven. It is very apparent that you and your colleagues in both the Senate and the House, working with the executive branch, have spent a tremendous amount of time thinking critically on how to make a difference. It looks like we've got Senator Thune back with us. Senator Thune, just want to make it clear, Senator Hoeven accused you of many good things, and we want to give you a chance, A, to have a rebuttal, and then B, well, looks like we lost him. We want to let's give him one more second. Senator Hoeven, we need to get that internet better in South Dakota. I know you've done a lot of work in North Dakota on the ability to increase access to rural broadband, but this is another one of those examples. We are going to go to a question, Senator Hoeven. This is going to come from a Brookings entrepreneur, Diraj. Diraj has worked out of the South Dakota State University Research and Tech Park, and he's got a question for us. If we could pull Diraj up so we can bring that question in. Welcome to the stage, Diraj.
Thank you, Senator, for the opportunity to ask you a question. I'm very excited for the quick action that senators have taken, that you all have taken, and come up with the Paycheck Protection Program. And I think that's something that's going to be really helpful for startups like Query AI. We are based in the Research Park in Brookings, South Dakota, and we are a cybersecurity startup. The question that I have for you is that I heard that state of South Dakota has also come up with a small business relief fund. And that, according to the website I'm seeing on the Governor's Office of Economic Development, it says that it can cover up to $75,000 of expenses and cover up to 3 months of costs for small businesses. My question then is that, is this something that can be, if we keep this as a fund that's different from the PPP, is this something that we can apply along with the PPP together, or we can't apply for both of them together? And is this something that that can? There's also the issue of personal liability, because this particular fund that has come up, it seems that it's asking for personal liability from the founders versus in the space that I am, personal liability is not something that is asked for. The liability should be limited to the organization itself. So those two sub-questions. Thank you.
So I can't answer as to the South Dakota fund. Maybe Jamie can. What I can tell you, in North Dakota, we have the Bank of North Dakota that has programs as well. So for North Dakota entrepreneurs and other businesses, as you're working with the Paycheck Protection Act, which, by the way, the PPP does not require a personal guarantee and it does not require collateral. Bank of North Dakota has programs you can apply for as well. So you're going to want to access both. I'm guessing that's going to be the answer in South Dakota as well. I'll turn to Jamie. One other thing I'll throw out there is also the SBA has the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. Goes up to $2 million. You can also access that as well as the PPP program. Does not require a personal guarantee, does not require collateral, does provide a $10,000 grant advance that you don't have to pay back. And so that may be advantageous for you. You would want to check into what we call EIDL, or the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program from SBA. And maybe Jamie, if either JT's up or maybe you know about his question as far as the South Dakota.
Yeah, absolutely. You're spot on, Senator Hoeven. And thanks for the question, because we do get this a lot. So the Governor's Office of Economic Development in South Dakota, obviously they have to speak on behalf of their loan program. But what I can say as far as the SBA, caveating what Senator Hoeven said, is that there's not a credit elsewhere denominator or a factor inside of the PPP or the EIDL loan. So you can actually apply for many different types of help, disaster assistance at once, these programs. So the PPP is really, we're recommending people apply for that as quickly as possible. And that's going to be based, on that calculation, and it's going to really cover 2 months of employment. We get the question a lot, especially from the founders and entrepreneurial and sole proprietors and self-employed folks. Can I count myself as an employee if I don't have any other employees? The answer is yes, you may. There are some parameters around there that any local district office. So if you're in North Dakota, contact the North Dakota SBA district office. If you're here in South Dakota, we're glad to help you field those and work through the policy. But there's so much help in these loans, PPP or the EIDL. And that grant, that EIDL Advance, that grant one is actually up to $10,000. It is based off the number of employees, because they want to make sure, SBA wants to make sure that as many small businesses across the U.S. get access to that advance that can turn into a grant. So the model right now that they just employed in the last few days is actually about $1,000 per employee. So that's what that is right now. Recommend that you apply for as many as you can. Get that money in your survival toolkit. It's really important right now.
There's also an employee retention tax credit program through the CARES Act that may work for companies too. That's up to $5,000 per employee, somewhat similar to what you described with your South Dakota program.
All right. Well, it looks like we're getting close to getting Senator Thune back. It sounds like the issue was Wi-Fi and via the internet, and so we'll figure out what that is. But we want to go to Tommy Kenville. Tommy is an entrepreneur. He calls Grand Forks home. He works in the UAS industry. Our team's going to be pulling Tommy Kenville up. He's probably out working right now, so hopefully he'll make some time for us. But welcome to the stage, Tommy, and thanks for being with us.
Oh, you bet. First, Senator John, we were together 4 years ago in Tampa for a little hockey. So.
Oh yeah, I was counting on it this year too, man. We were on our way.
Yeah. But I'm very thankful. Our company is in the critical energy infrastructure work. I've had 16 guys deployed for the last 2 months. I guess one of my bigger concerns, Senator John and Senator Thune, is hotels closing. Because without hotels, it's tough for us too. And we're in small communities, right? And so far it's been working. We've been moved a few times. A couple of things we've done is had motor homes for quarantine. So when the guys get home, they can't be home. I have a couple motor homes at one of our shops. They can hang out or stay on the road. But I'm so thankful for the leadership I think the programs you guys put together are real good. And today we're up flying the flood right now, John. I got probably 5 guys in the valley with the airplanes and drones. So it's moving along good, and really appreciate your leadership back when we started this drone deal, however many years ago it was. But it's exciting times, but nervous times. The other thing we've been doing is I communicate every night with every guy, because they're young kids, and they're nervous, and their parents are nervous, and I'm nervous, right? And so we just touch base and make sure they're okay. And my cell minutes are up a little bit, but so what, as long as they're safe. So thank you for the leadership again. And I think the drones will have a big play when a bigger play when this passes, you know.
Right on. No, thanks, Tom. Tom Kendall's been an absolute leader in the whole unmanned aviation airspace. I was able to put together legislation back in 2011, and we set up the 6 test sites. And the first test site named was the Northern Plains Test Site, which of course is in Grand Forks. And Tom Kendall's been a part of standing that up, and they've got so many firsts. It's just unbelievable, whether it's the night flight or the first flight beyond line of sight without a chase plane for large unmanned aircraft. And the Grand Sky Technology Park up there is absolutely leading the way in terms of R&D and UAS technology with companies like General Atomics and Northrop Grumman and many others. So it's exciting. It's amazing. I'm going to turn this over to JT because I see we got him back up on screen and give him a shout out too. But the leadership that Tom and the whole crew, particularly out of Grand Forks, have demonstrated in this area, UND Aerospace. Incredible, absolutely amazing, big part of our tech push. And, we see with this COVID virus, the importance of being able to deliver goods and products with unmanned technology. So here again, we're finding another use. And of course, Tom's operating all over the country right now. But I think, we're going to see, this is going to help hasten product delivery with UAS because of what we're going through right now. Good to see you, JT. You're looking good. I like the facial hair, baby. I love it.
Well, I'll never be the silver fox like you, but I'm doing my best.
Senator Thune, just as we're jumping in, thanks for your resilience in the technology difficulties. Could you just share a little bit on your work in South Dakota and in Washington as you think about COVID-19 and the potential impact it has for entrepreneurs and founders? Share some of your wins, what you're working on, and any perspectives you could offer for these folks that are taking risks and want to be part of the solution.
Well, and we appreciate all the companies out there that are making wonderful contributions to this fight. We have a lot of companies, with some entrepreneurs in South Dakota, Badlands Distillery out in Kadoka, South Dakota, which is not too far from where I grew up, has gone from making whiskey now to making hand sanitizer. And we've got, as was mentioned earlier, I think Jamie mentioned a company in Pierre that is making now masks. And so they're converting their operations into things that are useful in helping us defeat this very, very invisible enemy. But the things that we've been working on in Washington, and John covered a lot of that pretty well, but I appreciate you all giving us the opportunity to talk a little bit about it. The key right now, I think, is we got to keep the economy afloat until we get to a better time. And so most of the measures that we put in place are designed to help sustain our small businesses. If for no reason of your own, you lose a job, the unemployment insurance has been really topped off, plussed up way above and beyond what the states offer through those accounts. And of course, our healthcare providers who are on the front lines, lots of money in there for hospitals. And John and I fight hard for our rural hospitals to make sure that they've got adequate funding, in addition to growing the national stockpile when it comes to PPE and ventilators, and then also all the critical research that's going into vaccines and therapeutics and diagnostics. A lot of money put into this to try and win the healthcare emergency, knowing full well that the economy is not going to recover until we win the health emergency. And one thing that I'll tell you that I'm a big believer in, I think we've just got to get universal testing out there. I think we had mass testing so we know who's got it, who doesn't. And then I think it'll get a lot easier to open up the economy, because right now we're sort of shooting in the dark. And until we have the data and the information about, more information about where this is and who has it, and start to make some decisions, informed decisions about how to deal with it going forward, I think it's going to be real challenging. So those are the types of things we're working on, trying to keep our small businesses going, keeping families going. and obviously our healthcare workers who are on the front lines of this. But we will get to a better day, and there are lots of, I think, bright spots in our future. But right now, entrepreneurs and small businesses and innovators have to ride it out. All these things that we have out there that have been put in place apply to self-employed, independent contractors, gig economy workers, whether it's PPP, whether it's the unemployment insurance, which previously hadn't been available to those types of businesses. And so all those things are designed to get these small companies through this and on to better times.
So Senator Thune and Senator Hoeven, if you would you share a little bit, give us a sense of how your colleagues made these difficult decisions? How did you dive in? What was happening? We see information on TV, it gets in the news, but what's it like behind the scenes for folks from smaller states to get your voices heard, to get all of us as constituents represented? What's it like for you behind the scenes versus what we see in national television?
JT, you go ahead and start that out.
Okay. Well, I think the nice thing about the United States Senate is that each state has equal representation. And so John Hoeven and I and our colleagues, Mike Rounds, my colleague from South Dakota, former governor, and Kevin Kramer in North Dakota, have really sort of, I guess you would say, relative to our population, outsized influence in the Senate. And I can tell you that John Hoeven uses that to full advantage. And on so many issues, he's got a great knowledge base, energy, ag, banking from, an industry from which he comes. And on so many issues, national security takes a leadership role. And so we just have to make sure that our voice is being heard. And I think that those of us who represent the Dakotas in the Senate are very outspoken and make sure that we're at the table when these decisions are being made. But I can tell you when we were discussing this, and we had a number of not only conference meetings, but individual meetings, talking with different senators and talking with the administration. I remember being in one meeting in particular where Larry Kudlow and Steve Mnuchin were there. And we were talking about the size of this and what we were going to have to do. And most of us were thinking along the lines of $1 trillion. And Larry Kudlow says, you know what, to get the markets to notice this, it's going to have to be a $2 trillion package, which sort of, kind of blew some of our minds in terms of what we were thinking about size and scale and scope wise. But as we started to put it together, construct it, and add all the elements, it became clear that this was going to be something that was very unprecedented. It called for extraordinary, big and bold action. This is a big and bold crisis that we're facing right now, and everybody had to step forward. And as John Hoeven mentioned earlier, he was the guy when it came to getting ag money in that bill. It doesn't happen without him. So the money that's in there for crop, the money that's in there for livestock, was all his doing, and he was relentless at the table in making sure that those issues were covered.
All right, we're going to go back to our questions from the audience. So we're hearing from Abdi. Abdi is out of Fargo. He runs a company called Soma Solutions. We're going to pull Abdi up to the podium and give him a chance to share his question. Also, for the entrepreneurs in the audience, if you could get ready, we're going to go general questions in just a few moments. So welcome, Abdi. If you could share your name, your company, and your question, and let's keep it concise so we can get more and more questions from our audience.
All right, thanks. Hello, everyone, and thanks for the opportunity. I'm the founder of Soma Employment Solutions, and I would like to ask you the scenarios. Among the small business community in North Dakota, are those that their religion or values don't allow interest that comes with loans and cannot utilize the Corona relief package due to the interest? Are there alternatives help for this kind of small business community? And my business is one of those businesses that right now cannot utilize one of the packages due to the interest.
John, do you want to take a shot?
Sure. Well, we talked about some of these, but really all of the programs we've talked about are available to you. And so I think you need to check into them. And then the states also have programs too. So I wouldn't overlook the Bank of North Dakota as well. So I don't know who your financial advisor is, but I would strongly encourage you to connect with your financial advisor and a financial institution if you're working with one. You can also talk to people like Greg Thune at Emerging Prairie, and they can get you onto these programs. That's part of the point here. We have these networks now, whether it's the 1 Million Cups, Emerging Prairies, and others, where you can work with others that are other entrepreneurs and with these associations, and they can help get you into all these different programs that we talked about. So don't overlook the state programs as well as all of the federal programs that we've gone through here, as you know, on this teleconference.
So, Senator Hoeven, and let's go to Senator Thune as well. I think the question is around faith and traditions, and certain faiths and traditions don't allow for a practicing member of a certain tradition to accept interest-bearing loans. So, I think the question is more around those faith elements and those values and traditions. So, Senator Thune, maybe you could give some perspective into how someone may consider thinking about that.
Right, and I think that that's why they're in drafting this. We were always trying to think about, okay, who are we leaving out? Who's going to fall between the cracks? And it's challenging. I mean, this was something that came together in a short amount of time. You know, we put together a $2 trillion package in Senate, what's warp speed in Senate time, because it took us about all in, and this was after some delays that were, once we got it to the floor, about 10 days. But trying to construct programs that sort of fit every different constituency out there. And obviously there are people who fall through the cracks. But I guess the one thing I would say to your questioner is, if you're not eligible for PPP because under your faith tradition, you can't make interest payments, there is a program called the Employee Retention Program, which operates through the use of tax credits. And you can cover basically up to about $5,000 per employee. And if you're self-employed, again, these are all programs that you're eligible for if you have a small business, whether you have employees or not. But that particular program allows you to take tax credits up to 50% of what your wages are, and it ends up being about, the tax credit generally about $5,000 a person. So there's that program out there. There are some other things that you can activate if you're looking for liquidity and cash flow, deferral of payroll tax. You don't have to pay payroll tax under this program now until 21 and 22. It doesn't absolve you of the liability, but it creates some cash flow in the interim. So I'd look at all those different tools that are out there. I know that sometimes it may not be one in particular that fits. And as John pointed out, there are a number of programs at the state level too, which my guess is will probably be more flexible. And when it comes to making interest payments, unless you can get a lender that will work with you on that front, you may want to look at one of these other programs that's available that operates on a slightly different premise. And I think the tax credit would be one that might work for you.
Great. We're going to appreciate the thoroughness of that, Senator Thune and Senator Hoeven. We're going to go to the open podium portion of the platform. So what our team is going to do is they're going to do an open podium, and someone is going to self-select in. And so we're going to see who that person is. We ask that they introduce themselves, let us know who they are, and share their questions. So if somebody wants to opt into that, they can just click on the join podium, and that will give us an ability to hear from them. Here we go. And it's empty. Okay, so let's go. Okay, we've got another question coming. This is the.
Hi, am I on? Is it all working?
Yep, you're up, Joel. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, thank you. So for just a quick background on who I am, my name is Joel Brown. I am the founder of Mineral Tracker based in Watford City, North Dakota, right in the heart of the Bakken. And so in addition to my business being very much oil centric, every business, around me is oil centric. And so the double whammy that we've recently faced with, not only the challenges that are coming with COVID-19, but also with the tremendous decrease in oil demand is creating a lot of apprehension and fear in this area. And so I know that yesterday OPEC Plus announced a 10 million barrel per day cut to oil production, which is, it's not quite enough to offset the decrease in demand that we've seen recently. And I know, Senator Hoeven, that you've introduced legislation to begin filling the strategic petroleum reserves as well, which I think is an excellent idea for a short-term relief for the shale producers in the U.S. But my question is, after the strategic petroleum reserves are filled, what further steps can be taken to support the shale producers here in North Dakota, Texas, across the U.S., and protect our energy independence as a nation?
Yeah, I can start on that one, Joel. First off, thanks for what you're doing out there. I've actually heard about your business. I know you do a fabulous job and a very needed service out there. Your points are right on. We got real challenges in the energy industry right now. As you said, OPEC Plus met with along with Russia, and I'd actually talked to some other players, including Canada and Norway, in an effort to reduce supply. As you know, Saudi and Russia got into a supply war right before the complete demand destruction that we've seen because of the coronavirus. So that just, as you say, it's been a double impact, not only the shutdown of demand because of coronavirus, but also more supply in the market because of this price war. It does look like, based on yesterday's discussion, now that we're ending that. There's no formal announcement going to be made until after the G20 meeting today. I'm hoping the reduction is going to be more than 10 million barrels a day. I'm hoping for something closer to 20 million barrels a day. We'll see. That will have, some positive impact, but at the same time, we have to take other steps, which is why I've introduced legislation. It's bipartisan, bicameral. I've got sponsors in the House as well, and that would allow us to pay to buy American oil to fill up the SPRO, which is a very good move for our country right now because you're getting that oil at a very low price on a relative basis, and it's a national security issue to have that reserve. And ultimately, the country at some point can sell it at a higher price. So it just makes sense. And it helps our industry because we can acquire about 77 million barrels of oil. And again, it would be from our domestic producers. And so that would have a positive impact in the short term. And JT and I are as part of our leadership team. And I talked to Senator McConnell on this specifically yesterday. I know he's working very hard to help us try to get that through. We have still some work to do with our colleagues. I think we're in good shape with our colleagues on our side of the aisle. We need our colleagues on the other side of the aisle to join with us and understand that this is about tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of jobs in America, in the energy belt, not just here in North Dakota, but across the energy belt in this country. So we need to get that passed. And then we are going to need to provide more help like we're talking about today. So for a lot of the oil service companies you see out there in Watford and other places, this Paycheck Protection Act will help. The UI that we talked about, unemployment insurance that we talked about will help. The employee retention credit we talked about will help. But we need to do more for those mid-majors. So not the real big companies, the multinationals, they'll get through this okay. They always do. But for those mid-majors that we have out there in the Bakken and in throughout the energy patch, we've got to do more. That's what Secretary Mnuchin rolled out yesterday with the Main Street banking plan, but I think that needs more work. JT, I'd throw it over to you.
No, I think, John, you answered very well. It's a huge number of jobs in our economy in this country, and a major player, and like so many sectors of the economy, profoundly impacted by COVID, but other factors, of course, come into play when it comes to energy. And so I think, John, he's believed me very much on top of this issue, and keeps our conference, all our Republican senators and Democrat senators, for that matter, very well informed about what's happening in the energy country.
Well, thank you, Joe, for that question. We're getting towards the end. I believe up next, we are going to hear from Angela. She's a restaurant entrepreneur that's been forced to make some difficult decisions. I know there are a lot of folks that run restaurants that really have been put in a very unique spot, a time to innovate, but a time to make some difficult decisions. So Angela from Cooks on Main, thank you for joining us. What is your question?
So I'm the owner of Cooks on Main. I have primarily part-time staff. I do have one full-time staff. We are a specialty kitchen store, so not a full restaurant, but a specialty kitchen store, so primarily in the retail side. My question is for the senators: how do you see the Families First Act and the Paycheck Protection Program working together? The Paycheck Protection Program is a great option for my part-time staffers, but my full-time staffer has been impacted for the near future for losing daycare. And so she's actually going to be out much longer than hopefully the COVID-19 is going to impact my store. So how do you see those two programs working together?
Go ahead, JT.
Well, I think, again, as we looked at this, we were trying to anticipate, and you never fully anticipate because we've got a very dynamic economy and a lot of interaction between different sectors and different types of businesses in our economy. But I think that the idea was to try and have these programs complement as much as possible each other. And the PPP program for small businesses of 500 or fewer employees, or slightly higher than that if you meet a certain, SIC, code category under the Small Business Administration regulations, that was kind of designed for that sort of sized entity. And a lot of them are taking advantage of that. But for slightly larger businesses, but maybe not big enough to take advantage of the credit facilities that were created through the Treasury and the Federal Reserve, the Employee Retention Program was put in place. And so that is a tax credit, as I mentioned, a refundable tax credit program that can be accessed and used by companies that might not otherwise be eligible for the PPP program. And of course, the unemployment insurance counts, as I mentioned earlier, above and beyond what South Dakota or North Dakota offers, is plussed up to the tune of $600 per person per week for up to 4 months. And so there are all kinds of things that can be used depending on what your particular needs are, your employees.
Oh, shoot. Looks like we just lost Senator Hoeven. Any final thoughts on that question for Angela as we think about the collaboration elements of the programs?
Yeah, Angela, JT was right on with that. You've got the Paycheck Protection Act, but then you also have the Employee Retention Tax Credit. And the reason he says that's a refundable tax credit, it means you don't actually have had to pay that tax in, and you still get the $5,000 back. And so it's important to understand you have those two options. And then you also have the extended unemployment benefits as well. And those go longer. That actually takes you out through the end of the year, through December 31.
Thanks, Angela, for your question today and for joining us. Senator Hoeven, as we wrap up, if Senator Thune's able to join us, we'll pull him back, but we're getting towards the end of the time together. What encouragement would you have for the folks that have taken the risk of building a company, going out on their own, whether they're early stage business, mid-size, or starting to gain some critical traction? What encouragement would you have for them as we go into uncertain territory?
Yeah, well, first off, to hang in there and be encouraged, because we're going to beat this COVID virus. I hope sooner versus later. I think it's going to be a phased, gradual coming out in terms of getting back into the workplace. I think you're going to see places like North Dakota and South Dakota lead that, just because of our, the nature of our states. We don't have, as many people as close together as they do in a place like New York City or New Orleans or San Francisco or even Denver. So I think people should be encouraged. We're going to beat this. We're going to come out of it. There will be challenges, and don't be discouraged by those challenges, because with challenges comes opportunity. And then also that we'll continue to try to provide the kind of programs that we have to help our our entrepreneurs and private industry get through this. We'll continue to do that. We'll assess what we've done so far. We've done 3 phases so far, determine what's working, what we need to address. But then ultimately I go back to, just like we are here today with you and Jamie and this incredible network that we're building, there is a support group. You are part of the support network that is developing out there in such a wonderful and important way that we can rely on each other as well, and we'll get through this.
Thanks for those closing comments, Senator Hoeven. Senator Thune, we were just wrapping up with some hopes or perspectives. What encouragement would you have for those folks that are taking risks, seeing opportunities, trying to be part of the solution, living the values of the Dakotas of grit and determination, resiliency? What parting thoughts would you give for the 150 plus entrepreneurs that are joining us today?
Well, thanks to them, Greg. Thanks to you and Jamie. By the way, Jamie, thank you for all your great work, having served both the Dakotas at SBA and now as district director in South Dakota. I know you've been getting deluged with calls, and you've been extremely responsive to our office, and I'm sure to the other offices across our state as well. So thank you for that. And Greg, thank you for hosting us. And to my good friend, John Hoeven, we will continue, as he said, looking for ways to be able to respond to what's happening out there in the best way possible, and to make sure that we get through this. But this is a tough part of the country. We all know that. The people who founded this, the pioneers who were here, gave us a heritage and a tradition that stays with us today. And we just have to grind our way through this and gut it out, practice the guidelines, make sure we're doing everything to stop the spread, And in the meantime, continue to support the solutions that are going to get us to the other side. And I think that's dealing with the health emergency through better testing, obviously, eventually, hopefully some therapeutics and a vaccine, but also these economic tools that are available to help, again, just provide that interim assistance, try to get us through the worst of this to where our economy is up and going again. And I know as somebody who grew up in a small town in South Dakota, how dependent we are. You know, I grew up in the travel industry. My little town was on Interstate 90 on the way to the Black Hills. And so I had two brothers that worked in filling stations, ones that worked at the local attraction. My sister waited tables and I cooked, and my parents managed a motel. And I've talked to a lot of people in that business that right now are looking at a season that's looking pretty grim. So, but we just have to stay optimistic, stay positive, as is our nature out here. I think when you go through adversity, it strengthens your faith, it strengthens your, and it makes you gives you a greater appreciation for the things that really matter for family and friends and community, and use this time to just get ready to launch, because I think when we get past this, there's going to be a lot of pent-up demand out there, and we need to be prepared to get to work and to get this economy back on track. So thanks for all our entrepreneurs in both of the Dakotas. We're all the one big family out here, and I know that's the way that Senator Hoeven and I think of it when we work together to try and come up with solutions that are good for the Dakotas and for our country. So thank you all for tuning in, and thanks for giving me the opportunity. And I apologize for the technical glitches on our end, but I guess that kind of comes with the territory. I never thought I'd be learning how to use Zoom and Shindig, but that's part of our.
Well, Senator Hoeven has a history of getting strong earmarks for rural broadband, or so strategic priorities. So let's get him some support. Thank you, Senator Hoeven. Thank you, Senator Thune. Jamie, you are in the trenches. You and the team at SBA are part of the #1 portion of the solution. Help us, all the founders, get a perspective of where they can turn, how to get answers, what should they be thinking about. Give us a couple parting comments.
There's so much help available to you right now, whether it's the financial help that's already been discussed. And I really highly encourage you, apply for it. Right now, it is completely unprecedented. I know that's the word of the day, but this is unique. It's new. These are programs we've never, ever done before in the United States. And so they're very small business friendly. Many of you are, you're eligible for these. So please make the applications. Lean on your SBA offices and the SBA suite of resource partners out there. So there's an awesome team up in North Dakota located in Fargo and Bismarck that cover the state. You can find them at sba.gov/local assistance. Same here for South Dakota. We're here for you. And let's do this. Let's work together and lean on each other. And you're not on an island. You're not alone. This is happening across the United States, across the globe, but we're here to help you.
Great. Thanks for that, Jamie. And just as we wrap up the program, I want to say thank you to Forum Communications for live streaming this across their digital properties. We do want to get an appreciation out to the technical team at Shindig for giving us the ability to pilot this technology with all of you. We want to say thank you to the Senator's staff, both Senator Hoeven, Senator Thune staff, for helping us put this together, for their patience as we built a program very quickly. To the entrepreneurs that sent questions that you did not get those answered, we've sent those out to the senators' teams. We've sent them out to the SBA as well. So there is a possibility they may reach out if you have pressing questions. And then the last thing that I just wanted to share with everyone is just that bit of encouragement. Look for the opportunity to serve. We're in this together. Emerging Prairie has always believed that entrepreneurship is a team sport. And I know there isn't any other place in the world I'd want to be an entrepreneur than in the Dakotas right now, with trusted leadership, with a collaborative environment, with values that represent the ability of serving your family and your neighbor, and the ability that we all have to be part of the American dream, which is to pursue a meaningful life. And so I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining us. We had 350 people signed up for this. We've got live streams going across multiple communications. We hope to continue to work with you, Senator Thune, Senator Hoeven, keep being a voice for the entrepreneurs. And Senator Thune, there's a sidebar bet going on. Will you be joining the Mustache Caucus at the completion of your quarantine?
Well, my guess is, Greg, when we flatten the curve, I'm going to get rid of this thing.
And is that your vote or your wife's? We'll have to wait to hear how that goes. Thanks for your innovation. Thanks for supporting the risk takers. Thanks for looking out for nonprofit founders and independent contractors, sole proprietors, the whole slate. We are grateful for you. Have a great rest of your Good Friday, folks. Thank you to my colleague Jamie, and we hope to work together again.
Thank you so much. Good luck, everybody. We got this.